And we are back, people. We are back. It's another Rolling with Ramos Tuesday. Had to work out some kinks on this video thing. But don't worry, we are back. I'm waiting for my co-host Tristan to join me. And we will get this started. I hope your Tuesdays... Well, today's a Tuesday. I hope your Thursday it has been well. And I hope that you guys are staying safe, COVID-free. And if anybody that you know has had it, that they're taking care of themselves, that they're getting through it, and that everything is okay. A little bit. Go ahead. You got to repeat what you said, though.
Oh, I got you. So with Russell Wilson, we're so used to Russell Wilson carrying the load. The whole campaign all year has been let Russ cook, let Russ cook. That's all we've been saying. Let Russ cook, let Russ cook. The problem though is that when Russ ain't cooking, the team ain't cooking. No one is on the team that's able to lift Russ when Russ is having struggles. As great as Russell Wilson's been, he was bound to have a game here and there where he kind of would have a goof. Last week it was a bad game against the Bills. He had 4 turnovers, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. The game prior to that against Arizona, I think he threw like 1 or 2 picks in that game. So when Russ doesn't have a strong game, the team suffers. There's no one there to say, all right, Russ is struggling. Who's the next guy we're going to look to kind of help him right the ship? There's no one there. So now we're in a situation where the pressure is all on Russ. If they want any shot at a Super Bowl, they want any shot at a championship, Russ has to be perfect. And unfortunately, as great as Russell Wilson has been, Russell Wilson cannot be perfect the entire time. So something has to give. I know that they tried to do the trade for Carlos Dunlap. I think they as of today, I think they were trying to make another move. Jamal Adams is supposed to be coming back. I know that's going to help in the secondary. But people forget, as much as we've been talking about the Cowboys and the Cowboys' destruction that's been taking place, the Seahawks are the actual team that has statistically and ranking wise, the worst defense in football. It's the Seahawks, not the Cowboys. Exactly. It's the Seahawks. So that's telling you that in order for them to be successful, he was on record pace of throwing touchdown passes. Russell Wilson has to continue to be on that kind of tear in order for them to be successful, and that's not going to happen. So unfortunately, we're going to look at it as a situation kind of like what Aaron Rodgers had to deal with for so many years, where you got this all-world quarterback, this all-world player, but you ain't got no defense. And then on the offense side of the ball, yeah, you got Tyler Lockett, you got DK Metcalf, but then what else you got?
How does this pale in comparison? Because me and you have had many conversations where we've said Russell Wilson, great quarterback. How the hell he has no MVP votes, never been nominated. This is his year. And the real reason that he was never nominated years ago is because he had a defense that overcast him. And we know about the Legion of Boom and Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman and all of them. Now he's in a situation where he has no defense and it's all him, and he still can't get the recognition he deserves because at some point he will decline, and people will look at the decline before they look at everything else he just did.
Well, here's the thing. Russell Wilson, even after the whole Legion of Boom, after the Legion of Boom, there were still years where Russell Wilson should have at least had a few votes. For him to have no votes, I'm not even saying that he should have won one already, but for him to have no votes is entirely disrespectful because he's had awesome years even post LOB. He's had awesome years where it was him carrying the team. Even though the organization themselves, they tried their best to force the running game and defense instead of letting Russell Wilson get loose. This is the first year that they're actually letting Russell Wilson get loose. But now he needs the defense to follow suit because he can score points like that. But that means that defense goes right back on the field and lets the other team score points. So what are we going to do here?
And it's crazy because he's trying with every extremity of his body because he threw a pass falling down off his pivot foot. And I'm like, how did he even get that off? And he's just trying the best he can. That last game, a lot of people wanted to make a big deal about Kyler Murray. and everything that happened in that Arizona game. But that defense let them down in overtime.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's Kyler Murray. How do you stop that? We got to talk about something that means we got to go back because we missed the show last week, but we have to talk about this because this is a hometown guy. As I'm sitting in Baltimore and this is the DMV. No, Baltimore is not part of the DMV, but it's on 95 Bradley.
Right.
I truly believe that, okay?
Right.
So all you people that say Baltimore is a part of the DMV, geographically, yes. Okay, I give it to you. Culturally, no. When I was younger and I was going to Baltimore, I was going to a separate city. Damn near thought it was a separate state. So,
Right.
so listen, let's talk about Geronte Tank Davis and this take us back to boxing night on Halloween. Remember the Alamo Dome. Remember it this month for boxing. Gervonta Tank Davis knocked out Leo Santa Cruz with a stunning uppercut in the sixth round to retain his WBA lightweight championship and take Santa Cruz's WBA junior lightweight title on Halloween night at the Alamo Dome. Davis, 24-0, 23 KO, stunned Santa Cruz 37-2-1 with a pair of left-handed hooks to the side of the head in the sixth round to set up the final blow. With Santa Cruz retreating to his own corner, Davis delivered a left-handed uppercut to the jaw that dropped Santa Cruz immediately. Referee Rafael Ramos,
No.
this
No
is no
relation.
relation. There's no relation, you feel me? I got a million Ramoses out there. You my cousins, though. I feel you. Anyways, Rafael Ramos stepped in quickly to stop the bout 240 into the sixth with Santa Cruz unconscious with his right leg bent behind him. I'm so proud of him, said Hall of Famer boxer Floyd Mayweather, who is Davis's promoter. I'm probably happier than he is. Of course he was there. Headlining his first pay-per-view, Davis silenced critics who questioned his discipline due to a history of struggling to make weight. He also demonstrated his poise and repertoire at 25 years old against one of boxing's most skilled fighters. That shot, the final uppercut, a couple times prior, he was blocking it, Davis said. It was stuff that me just not going away from that punch and keep testing it. In the co-main event, Mario Barrios retained his WBA Super Lightweight Championship with a six-round knockout against Ryan Carl before a hometown crowd at the Alamo Dome. The bouts were part of the first major boxing card with a live audience since the coronavirus pandemic shuttered all sports. This drew 9,024 fans to the Alamo Dome. Seating was limited to 11,000 due to the social distancing at the 72,000 seat facility. Tristan, Gervonta Tank Davis punches the hell out of pay-per-view in prime time. How do we feel about this emerging star now? Everybody's saying he hasn't fought anybody, he hasn't fought anything that makes him worthy enough. He keeps rising up the ranks. Santa Cruz at his hands.
Well, this is probably one of his top fights, in regards to unifying the belts and all that. This is probably his biggest fight thus far in his young, promising career for sure. One thing you cannot deny about him is his natural punching power. There's some boxers that can train and try to develop some kind of power. There's some that's just God given, and he is one of them. That he was just blessed to have a heavy hand, and I got to watch that fight, and I watched it from the beginning. And Santa Cruz was giving a go. I mean, he really was working him, but it was, once you saw that, it was just a matter of time. So the idea for Santa Cruz camp was, if you can get Gervonta past round six, you can win the fight, because you start to wear him down. The problem is that Gervonta actually looked well conditioned. He didn't look tired. He
Yeah.
didn't look like he was sluggish, and it was just a matter of time waiting for the hit. I think what Santa Cruz was trying to do was go toe to toe with him. You don't go toe to toe with somebody that has natural punching of power like that. And Santa Cruz, being a fighter that he is, because I have respect for him, he was kept trying to go toe to toe with him, go shot for shot, and he just caught him sleeping, and had that devastating uppercut that took him out. But we've talked about Gervonta for a couple of years now. I mean, this is somebody that was on the rise. But like you said, he had issues with his weight. He also has off the field issues, and even now, he's still dealing with an off the field issue now. I think, was it like last week or so? There was an article that came out that he might be involved in a hit and run incident. Like, it's, you gotta stay disciplined. And the thing is, one thing I'm gonna say, and people are probably gonna be shocked about me saying this, but I honestly believe Floyd might be the best thing for him. And the reason why is because Floyd is all about making money, and he's all about his brand making him money. And I feel for Javante, he needs someone like that in his corner to kind of steer him in the way to be the best professional he can be, so he can capitalize on his riches. And I think if he could stay with Floyd and learn how to not get into all the antics and deal with all the issues, I feel like he'll be better off.
You and I are always in sync because guess what I have written down on this
What was
paper?
that?
That incident. Let's talk about it, shall we? November the 5th. The champ was involved in a hit and run accident in South Baltimore. This, according to a report from WJZ CBS Baltimore. The accident happened around 1:53 a.m. that Thursday at the intersection of Washington Boulevard and Martin Luther King Boulevard. Police officers were called to the scene for a report of a multi-vehicle collision. They found several people suffering from minor injuries and one person who was taken to an area hospital for treatment, according to their report. According to the police, a vehicle ran through a red light and struck another vehicle, then left the scene. The Baltimore Police Department would not confirm if Davis was at the scene or driving the vehicle, but a source tells WJZ Davis was in the Lamborghini that ran the red light. Police have not named anyone involved. Flyers circulated on social media about a celebration for Davis at a nightclub earlier in the night. A law enforcement source told WJZ Davis arrived at the club around midnight and left around 1:30 a.m. The crash happened 30 minutes later. It's not the first time Davis has had a run-in with the law this year. In February 2020, he was charged with battery after a viral video allegedly showed him in an altercation with his ex-girlfriend. The viral video also appeared to show Davis, 25, battering his ex-girlfriend with whom he has shares a child with while at a celebrity basketball game in Miami. Now, Tristan, just as you said, rightfully so, on one end, we can praise Javante Tank Davis for the heights his professional career is reaching, and is rightfully so because he deserves every bit of praise. He is amazing talent. Then, in a split second, his personal life takes over. It overcasts a shadow over that praise. We all know athletes are not perfect and things happen. We all know that, especially in boxing. If you heard about the preludes of Mike Tyson earlier this month and what he did to get past a couple of drug tests, never would have thought it. Am I surprised? No. But anyways, you cannot have it all together. You cannot have it all. We talk all the time about trying to figure it out, Tristan. But when you're in sports and then when you're in the limelight, it takes another different precedent. We talked about having Floyd Mayweather as a promoter because it's going to help him want to stay in the mix of trying to be the best in boxing to get those fights that he needs to propel him to great heights because he's going to continue to soar. But his I don't even want to say out of the ring antics because he's 25, he's young, he's got money. Things just happen. I'm pretty sure looking at this accident, somebody said, "Oh shoot, I don't want Tank to be standing here when the police come, and next thing you know, it's a bigger thing because now we're showing Tank being arrested. So we got to say somebody probably was trying to save him, but now we have this incident, and we have the incident with his ex girlfriend. There's TMZ Sports instance where he's getting arrested and detained in Los Angeles on the street, and he's joking about it. How much eventually do all these things add up, and it takes away from what he's doing inside the ring? Is there something someone can do? I don't want to say to hone him in, but it's a lot of yes people. Is there something that can be done? Because we don't want to get into a situation where no one's paying attention to the ring at all.
He's got to change his circle. He's got to change his circle. He's got to change who he's dealing with. And again, this is why I said Floyd being in his corner, being his promoter, might be the best thing for him, for his personal life and for his career. Because I do believe that Floyd can show him, if he listens to Floyd that way, I do believe Floyd can show him how to elevate himself. I think a thing that, and not just him, but just a lot of athletes um, deal with is that when they get to a certain position, a certain rise of stardom, what they don't want to happen is They don't want to make their friends feel like they forgot them, or act like, oh, I don't forget where I come from. I know where I'm from. I'm always giving back to the hood. I'm always giving back to the crew, or whatever. But what you also got to realize is that you elevating means that some people can't go with you. And we, and I say we as in the black community, we really have a hard time with being crabs in a barrel. When one person is getting elevated, everybody wants to grab hold and everybody wants to go along for the ride. But sometimes they can't go. Sometimes they can't hold on. Sometimes they gotta, you gotta let certain people go. And I think for Javante, that's the situation he's in. He's gotta let some people go. He's gotta change his circle, because right now you're putting yourself, every time you come home to Baltimore, you're in some kind of trouble. Every
Yeah.
time you come home, you're in some kind of trouble. And Baltimore loves you, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Homegrown. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of my fraternity brothers knew him from when he was a young teen. Like, we've heard of you for a long time, but now you're in a different arena now. Prices have gone up for you. You can't afford to be that guy that you were back when you was, you know here in Baltimore. You can't be that person anymore. You got to be something else. And your real friends, and that's the thing people got to understand, your real friends are going to respect your elevation, and they're going to make sure that you're not going to be put in any kind of situation that's going to harm what you got going for yourself. I.e., perfect example is LeBron James' crew. He's got the same crew he's had since high school, since they were kids. None of them ever had LeBron be in a position that they knew was going to put a mark on his brain, because they knew who he was and slash is. They knew what he was going to become. They made sure that he didn't get in any kind of scandal. They made sure he didn't get in any kind of trouble with the law. They always looked out for him, and in turn he gave them opportunities that they could become businessmen and do their thing, and they capitalized. If anybody can do a textbook on how to be true friends that can really change lives, it's LeBron and his crew. They really give you the blueprint of, look, you do it this way, we can all eat. Everybody say, I want everybody to eat. We can all eat, but we got to go this route. And I feel like for Javante, his friends are not operating that way, and it's causing him a lot of trouble. So I'm pretty sure Floyd been talking to him, trying to get him to change his ways. He might have to consider moving and just being somewhere where he could focus on boxing, focus on being the best fighter in the world, and we'll take it from there.
We're not even a week out from
That
Halloween night, and then boom,
exactly,
something happens to him.
exactly.
Wishing him the best. Tristan, this is episode 101. You call it what you want, baby, but we sitting right here. You're joined into Room with Ramos. I am Ramos. I'm Mikkel. I'm with my buddy, my friend, the star. Tristan,
Wow.
you're here. Let's go back down the NFL timeline, shall we? The Ravens and the Colts. The Ravens, they beat the Colts 24-10. The Panthers and the Chiefs. The Chiefs squeezed by the Panthers 33-31. The Lions and the Vikings 34-20. The Vikings take that over the Lions. The Washington football team and the Giants. This NFC East has been. They're going to send someone 2-8, possibly.
Nine,
To the
maybe 6-10.
six and I'm joking. I'm joking. They're gonna send somebody 6-10 to the
Yeah.
playoffs. Hey, hell, get in where you fit in, baby. But I was pulling for us for this one. I thought we had a good chance to win this one.
Yep.
23-20, the Giants take this one though. The Texans and the Jaguars, 25-27, 27-25. The Texans take over the Jaguars, 31-26. The Raiders over the Chargers. Anything you have to say about any of these games? Because then we go on to the NBA.
Let me say this. I believe that the Dolphins have their franchise QB. And I knew Tua would play well. I kept saying, everybody was getting on him. They were like, oh, he ain't do much against the Rams. We don't know, but I said, hey, it's one
It's the
game.
Rams and Sam
It was
Donald.
one game.
Aaron Donald,
Right.
excuse
That's
me.
what I'm saying. I'm like, it's one game. Let's just wait till the following week. Let's see what he does. And my man put on the show. That was for me. That was my favorite game on Sunday. Was watching Arizona and the Dolphins, watching Kyler Murray and Tua go back and forth. That was my favorite game to watch on Sunday. And this rookie class, this rookie class of QBs, I mean, it's stellar. I mean, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua. I mean, they are living up to the billing right now, and it is amazing, amazing to watch. And the NFL, I just feel like it's just going to be real fun to watch for the next, 10 years or so because you're looking at Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Tua, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, all these cats just slinging the ball all over the place. Deshaun Watson, all these cats. It's just going to be really, really fun to watch. And I just hope that the Washington football team lands on a stud quarterback soon so that we can bask in all this quarterback glory like half the teams in the NFL are doing right now.
You said a couple weeks ago, Tristan, you were not the concern was what was Tua going to be able to do, and if he was not able to do that, those comparisons of Joe Burrows and he's not as good and this and that. Not only has this rookie class come in and performed, they've performed in comparison to each other, and nobody is as different as each other. So this class walking in, yeah, we here, and all of us can ball,
Yeah,
and that's good to see.
we haven't seen it look good as far as a rookie class maybe since probably since '04 because and then people probably say, well, what about the RG3 and Luck class? Yeah, RG3 won Rookie of the Year. Andrew Luck was in the playoffs to get all that. Then you look at the class with Lamar and them, but we don't know what that was kind of a mixed bag because Josh Rosen ain't nowhere. Where we still don't know we still don't know about Baker. We're still not sure about Sam Darnold, even though I think Sam Darnold can play. I think he's just on a trash organization. The only one that really is
You know you love you some Adam Gase.
listen. If he's not fired at the end of this year, I have nothing to say about the Jets. I really won't talk about the Jets next year. I really won't. But so we're still not sure about well, no, we're sure on Lamar Jackson, but that's really it. Everybody else, we're still kind of in limbo. So it's going to be interesting to see. But this class right here, man, they're balling. They're balling.
And if you like this class and you like Tua, unfortunately, Maryland will not play Ohio State because of all of these COVID
I was
tests coming up. That would have been a big game. But his brother is balling.
Talia. He's balling,
He's
balling,
balling.
and that's why I
It,
wanted to see it. Him versus Justin Fields. I wanted to see it.
Tristan, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Yeah, I'm already seeing Christmas trees and all that stuff, and yeah,
Y'all are disrespecting
just
Thanksgiving like
skip
I don't know
Thanksgiving.
what.
Skip Thanksgiving.
We got my neighbor has a snow floaty on her
See,
lawn. They was out there having a good time putting all that stuff up.
Thanksgiving.
And I'm like, well, damn, we ain't even break bread yet.
So it's just,
We, but it's beginning to look like Christmas, not just because it's almost Christmas and we almost are in December, but because NBA is coming back, baby. According to NBA.com, the NBA comes back on December 22nd. Whew, that's 3 days before Christmas. A 72 game season, the NBA and the National Basketball Players Association announcing that they've struck a deal with on rules for this coming season, setting the stage for what will be a frenzied few weeks before games resume. Teams will play a 72 game schedule, which will be revealed in the coming weeks. The league said a new system will be used to ensure that the split of basketball related income continues. One of the many details that had to be collectively bargained with the union because the current agreement between the sides had a great deal of language that needed reworking because of the coronavirus pandemic. Negotiations with free agents will be allowed to begin at 6 p.m. on November 20th, with signings permitted starting at 12:01 p.m. on November 22nd. An extraordinarily fast window for the NBA, which typically has a week spanning the start of talks and the beginning of signings. But with training camps this year beginning December 1st, Both sides evidently feel there isn't a need to draw out the process any longer than necessary. The NBA draft set to take place November 18th. Player and team options likely to be settled around the same time. Free agency starts 2 days after the draft, with 100 players set for unrestricted status. The salary cap and the tax level will remain unchanged. The cap last season was 109.14 million this past season. The salary cap for 2021-2022 is guaranteed to rise somewhere between 3% and 10%, the league said, which means it'll be somewhere between 112.4 million and 120.1 million. There are countless other issues to work out, such as all the health and safety protocols that now that the games won't be played in the safety of a bubble, and teams will be traveling to various cities once again. Players were tested daily in the bubble, and nobody tested positive because of the very strict protocols. It'll be much tougher to avoid a COVID related issue with the league back to some sort of normality this season. For the NBA champion Los Angeles Lakers and the Eastern Conference champion Heat, it will be the shortest offseason in NBA history, with 7 weeks separating the end of the NBA Finals and the planned December 1st start of training camp. For the 8 teams that didn't make the restart bubble at Walt Disney World in Lake Buena Vista, Florida this summer, it has been a marathon offseason with none of those teams, Atlanta, Chicago, Cleveland, Charlotte, Golden State, Minnesota, New York, and Detroit, having played since the second week of March. The NBA shut down because of the coronavirus pandemic on March 11th, then took 22 of its 30 teams to Disney to resume the season in July. It's Christmas, Tristan. The NBA throwing us a bone in December. How you feel about it?
You know, I thought that they probably would have waited till January, but seeing the amount of money that they thought they were going to lose, they picked the ideal time because they want to capitalize on Christmas. We always say like football owns like majority of the fall, but Christmas time, December, that belongs to the NBA. Like I think everyone can agree with that. Everybody looks at the NBA games for Christmas, so for them to do it that they wanted to capitalize in the best way they knew how.
Just leave the Knicks off the freaking Christmas lineup. Why are we watching the Knicks on
I still
Christmas?
don't know why the Knicks
Man.
are a Christmas attraction. I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens in the NBA draft next Wednesday. But I don't understand why the Knicks are still the attraction. Maybe they're going to get Russell Westbrook. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out what's going to happen here. Like,
We'll talk about him a little
yeah,
bit.
I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on, but I think I know it's going to be rough for some of the players, some of the older veterans that, especially the ones that played in the bubble, but the ones that didn't even get to go to the play, I know they're more than anxious to get started. So, it's
That was my next question. Thank you.
yeah,
What was the difference in the people that didn't play in the bubble versus the people that played in the bubble? What would be the challenges? Some would think you've been off since March. You better come in and you should be fine.
yeah, but it's
But then some would think hopefully these injuries don't flare up if you hadn't been in the bubble, especially if you played in the playoffs. And so,
well, I'm more so worried about the ones that played in the bubble because has their body really recovered from having that having the
yeah,
playoffs that they had? Has
you
their
had to peel Jimmy Butler
Jimmy
off
Butler, these
the
guys that
chair.
have played crazy minutes, that they normally don't play. So but as far as the other teams that didn't get in the playoffs, it's also going to be very interesting because for them to be off since March, basically, that's a lot of time to be off too. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see some rust. I don't want people to think like these guys are supposed to just come back and be ready to go. We're going to see some rust with the teams that didn't get to go in the playoffs. We're probably going to see some hurt a little bit with the teams that were in the playoffs. So especially like you said with Jimmy Butler's, and I mean the guy, I think he played all but 2 minutes in the entire series. Like we're going to see some rough games in the beginning until they kind of get themselves back in the flow.
We're probably going to have this conversation later when they bring out the games, and we got to depict how the West and the East is going to look. But this is particularly for the West because you got a lot of teams coming back, and most particularly when we talk about the West, we talk about one team in specific that has been out, a lot of injuries, but this is the last team that's held it down for the last 3 years. And all this talk about Damian Lillard and all these other guards that have the wettest shot in the NBA, how can you forget about the silent assassin with the pretty blue eyes? And then you talk about his counterpart, who's also been out, Klay Thompson. You talk about Draymond Green, who's also been down. Golden State's coming back. And there's been some rumblings about this Western Conference. And yes, the Lakers are still the kings of it. But now they have to contest with Golden State. We still got these young guys coming in and they'll be out of a bubble. They'll have a full season to play now. You've had people that's in this bubble that, I mean, we saw Portland look whole different from the regular season in the bubble. But specifically Golden State, are we counting them out or are we counting them in?
I'm not. I'm not counting them out. You're getting the three god. Then you're getting Klay Thompson, who's just as bad. We call him Nuke. You're getting Nuke, and then you're getting Draymond Green. And people forget they have the second pick of the NBA draft. There are so many things that can happen in favor of Golden State to be right back in the championship contention. I understand it's not the same exact team as before in their heyday with the championships and going to I understand that Iguodala's not there. I understand that Sean Livingston is not there. I get all that. I understand that there's some pieces that used to be there that are no longer there. Quentin Cook's no longer there. I get all that. I get all that. But they still have the core. They still have the core. And that core is not old by any stretch of the imagination. So them guys can. You think Steph Curry ain't sat back in that house with his beautiful family and just smiling at the disrespect that people have been showing him, talking about all these other guys that are shooting all these threes? Y'all think he ain't sat back and just relishing the disrespect? These guys are.
And knowing he's coming back healthy.
He's coming back.
That's another thing I heard someone saying, oh, is he going to be healthy enough? Oh, he'll be healthy.
He's going to be fully healthy. He's going to be well rested. Listen, the Golden State's putting everybody on notice. I don't care what nobody say. Golden State, I'm not saying they're guaranteed to win the championship, but they definitely are going to be in the conversation for sure.
Let's run back down that NFL timeline. We're almost done. Steelers and the Cowboys. Steelers beat the Cowboys 24-19.
Barely.
The Dolphins and we're going to go back to this game. The Dolphins and the Cardinals 34-31. The Saints and the Buccaneers. The Saints destroyed the Buccaneers on Sunday night 38-3. We'll go back to that one too. Patriots and Jets. Tom Brady's former team. They squeezed by the Jets 30-27. Tristan, we start in Pittsburgh, baby, because guess what? Ben Roethlisberger. I can find my paper. Yes, here we go. No, it's not. Here we go. Yes, it is. Here we are. Yes, we are. Pittsburgh. Ben Roethlisberger limped around the backfield, directing his receivers this way and that, occasionally reaching for a left knee injured during the second quarter drive, completing every pass and leading the Steelers to their points. The limp was gone as the 38-year-old engineered a fourth quarter comeback that kept Pittsburgh as the NFL's only unbeaten team. Roethlisberger threw all three of his touchdown passes after shrugging off the injury, and the Steelers improved to 8-0 for the first time in the storied franchise's history, avoiding what might have been the biggest upset of this NFL season. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Tristan, they are 8-0. Mike Tomlin breaking every record, not just as an African-American coach, but as a coach in the NFL. Well, are we afraid of the Pittsburgh Steelers?
No, they're still flawed. It's probably the
really?
most flawed, undefeated team I've ever seen. I've never seen an undefeated team that still gives me so many questions. And I think the fact that it was the Cowboys, I feel like they kind of played down to the Cowboys, because everybody thought this was just going to be like a slaughter, and I think they went in that way. Um, but there's just levels, there's moments of inconsistency that I see with that team, and then when the rubber meets the road, it's like they buckle up and then they get serious. But you're not going to win the Super Bowl being like that. I want people, whenever I reference an undefeated team, and I try to compare, I always think about the 2007 Patriots. The thing that made the
Yeah.
2007 Patriots so dominant as an undefeated team was that it didn't matter who they played. They played it like it was the last game of the year, and they didn't care. They will put their foot on your neck and never let up. That was Tom Brady's thing. I'm going to chuck this ball as many times as you let me for Randy Moss. I don't care what coverage you give me. I'm going to chuck this ball to Randy Moss for as many times as you let me. And what did that lead to? 50 touchdowns for Tom Brady, 23 touchdown catches for Randy Moss. Both at the time were NFL records. Randy Moss's single season touchdown record still stands. So that was the difference. When I think of an undefeated team, I think of them that were so dominant both sides of the ball. It didn't matter if it was the Bills, the Dolphins, it didn't matter who it was. They were going to play you as if you were the best team. Not like they were the best team, as if you were the best team, and give you their very best every single game. I think with the Steelers, and it probably has to do with some of the youth on the team. I think the Steelers get full of themselves a little bit because they feel like we're undefeated and we're so good, and they kind of rest on their laurels. And so you run into a game like the Cowboys, who basically ain't got nothing to lose at this point, and you almost lose to them because you played down to your competition. So and kudos to Tomlin for being an awesome coach, never having a losing season, especially what he had to endure last year. But I do think that this might have been the best thing for them, because I think Coach Tomlin, and I believe it, that he's telling them, y'all think y'all so hot, but look what almost happened. And I think he's showing them that, and they're probably going to look a lot better, a lot more clean in this up and.
Discipline. I agree with what you say about when you think of an undefeated team, you think there's no flaws. I mean, that 2007 Patriots team, when you even think of what Carolina was able to do a couple of years ago, it just seemed like on every side of the ball they had their
They had
way.
the
There was nothing that you could do to destroy it. I mean, you couldn't take down the offense, and then defensively there was nothing you could do to mask them. They took over you. It was complete on both sides of the ball. And I know everybody's talking about these big rumblings in Pittsburgh, but at the same time, it's also like this is the only undefeated team. A 38-year-old led Pittsburgh Steelers team
yep,
is the only
the only one
undefeated team in the
standing.
NFL. Somebody's going to lose gas somewhere,
It
somehow.
could be this week. I think the Bengals could beat them. I do.
Speaking of last, as we finish up the NFL, speaking of a team and a guy that was not used to losing, how he just lost last Sunday night. And there's a lot of things that went wrong in this game because they only scored 3 points. Ha ha ha! 28-3, 38-3. Ha 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 ha! But anyways, they lost hugely. But this is I'm only talking about one bad thing. Tom Brady suffers worst loss of career as New Orleans pummels Tampa Bay. The most lopsided loss of Brady's career, topping his 31-0 shellacking at the hands of the Buffalo Bills back in 2003. Brady also posted the worst QB rating of his career in the 4 interception dud 17 years ago. And while his 3 interception performance on Sunday night didn't surpass the abysmal performance, his 40.4 QB rating marks his third worst game of his career, behind another 4 pick game in 2006, where Brady's Patriots lost 27-20. This experiment or what was going to be had in Tampa Bay. It's been on, it's been off, it's been on, it's been off. We're seeing Tom Brady in non-human like looks, him looking out at the field saying, hey, put me in. And he can't get put in because his defense isn't performing and he's losing the way he's losing. We had this big conversation before the year began. Was it Tom Brady that made the Patriots or was it Bill Belichick that made the Patriots? We're looking at them in two different spectrums now. Tom Brady looked human. He also looked like he was at the end of his rope. Can we see it in his career coming soon?
No, um, watching him play, I when I look at Tom Brady, when people talk about if he's at the end of his career, what I see with Tom Brady is not the lack of talent. Yeah, he's not who he was back in his prime, but he ain't really lost too much either. It's not lack of ability. There's some players when you see they just got old and you're looking at them like they're just old. They can't do what they did before. I think for him it's just more so one, the Saints defense is still pretty legit. And that offensive line is not as solid as it needs to be. They had some injuries. They got to clean up some stuff on that offensive line. Also, I think with them signing Antonio Brown, I think he was trying to force him get Antonio Brown comfortable in that game, and without and just not letting the flow of the game come to him. But what also was a problem is you cannot. Your defense has to do better. Your defense cannot allow that many touchdowns to happen like that. I understand that Tom Brady was going 3-and-out, and the defense had to get back on the field and go through all that. I get all that. But if you don't give it a chance to at least let them get and do a field goal instead of a touchdown, you get behind like that and forcing Tom Brady to have to throw the ball to throw y'all back into the game, that's not going to happen. Tom Brady is all about rhythm. He's all about timing. Okay, he can't just sling it to get you back in. He is not Brett Favre. That was Brett Favre's game. Brett Favre can get you in. Sometimes Brett Favre will get you out. But that was Brett Favre's game, and Tom Brady's not that. Um, they only ran the ball 5 or 6 times that game. That's the lowest that's ever been in the history of football. You can't rush 5, 6 times in a game and expect any balance. So basically what happened was, because they got behind so far, all the Saints did was saw that Tom Brady has to throw this ball. So they just pinned their ears back and went after him. That's really all that happened. So yeah, it was bad.
And once you get them tap dancing,
Exactly. And yeah, it was bad, but I still believe it's for whatever reason. I just believe that they're going to still have this all together by the time we get to the playoffs. Tampa Bay is going to be rolling.
I still believe in them too. I don't believe. I think people are trying to be too hard on this team because it's Tom
Yeah.
Brady led and he left New England
Yes.
and they're looking for this big decision of who made who
Yes.
and is Tom Brady. Oh, the people are waiting more for Tom Brady to retire than masking in the fact that we have this 38, 39-year-old quarterback still in the NFL that's better than half of these people and can still produce
Yeah.
and still moving like how he's
I
moving.
mean,
And the fact that is he still a threat to
the
people
guy is the
is
guy's
crazy.
42 years old and is still better than half the quarterbacks in the league. It's crazy.
Excuse me, I gave you less of the age than you was. And still I don't care who you are. When Tom Brady's next on your schedule, you're saying, "Oh shoot."
Yeah.
You ain't saying, "Oh shoot." You saying, "Oh, you know
Yeah.
what?" Because it's Tom Brady. There's still that back of your mind, back of your
It's
head,
Tom
and
Brady.
I'm still thinking that the Saints they pummeled them as much as they could because deep down they still thought if we let this man back in this game, something may give, something may work. We got to keep putting the pressure
The
on.
Saints did exactly what they were supposed to do. Absolutely.
Here's your main event, Tristan, and we finish the show.
All right.
In one corner, we have free agency. And there's Victor Oladipo out here talking about he was in front of his own team, asking other teams to play somewhere else if he can play with them. You got DeMar DeRozan talk of going to the Lakers. There's talks about Karl Anthony Towns, where he's gonna fit. But in one corner, we have free agency. In the other corner, we have the Houston Rockets. In one corner, we have Russell Westbrook. I wish their names had some sort of
Something different.
difference
Yeah.
because sometimes even if you know what you might mess around and say Russell Wilson playing in the NBA. He really ain't playing in the NBA. You know who you talking about when you talking about. Don't judge me. Anyway, you got Westbrook, and I still did it. Russell Westbrook in one corner. You have the Houston Rockets in the other corner. Where do they go? We have to find out. According to SI.com, Houston Rockets guard Russell Westbrook does not want to remain in Houston. Shams Charania of The Athletic and Stadium reports. Westbrook, 32, Tristan, we are the same age, is owed $131 million over the next 3 seasons. According to Sports Illustrated's Chris Mannix, the market will be extremely limited if the Rockets shop Westbrook. Westbrook, with the help of James Harden, helped the Rockets earn an appearance in the 2020 NBA Western Conference semifinals. The NBA champion Los Angeles Lakers eliminated the Rockets 4-1 in the series. The Rockets have reached the playoffs in 8 straight years in the James Harden era, but Houston isn't exactly a pillar of stability as we approach the 2021 season. We also find out that, if I can find my paper, I was on a roll. No, that's not it. Here we go. We also find out Westbrook's concerns about sticking around in Houston center on the franchise's culture and accountability. According to the Athletic's Kelly Iko and Sharania, Westbrook has voiced his concerns about these structural concerns to the team's officials, and he reportedly has had several verbal exchanges with Harden that a source described as tense but needed. Harden, however, remains committed to the Rockets, and that's changed as the weeks gone by. He's locked in. In an abbreviated season due to COVID-19, Westbrook averaged 27.2 points, nearly 8 rebounds, and 7 assists per game through 8 games in the NBA bubble in Orlando. The 9-time All-NBA guard posted 17.9 points, 7 rebounds, and nearly 5 assists per game while battling a strained quadricep. Possible landing places: the Knicks, they get Russ, and the Rockets will receive Rain Ellington, Bobby Portis, Frank Tilikina, Kevin Knox II, and 2021 second-round pick. If you want to go from one combustible to another, he could go to the Clippers. They get Russ in the 2021 second-round pick. Rockets will receive Patrick Beverly, Lou Williams, Ivica Zubac, Rodney McGruder, and Mfiondu Kabengele. Number 3, the Pistons. If this is where he chooses to go, they would get Russ in the 2021 second-round pick. The Rockets will receive Blake Griffin. The Hornets, out of all people, are emerging as the pick to get Russell Westbrook. Some say some say this is Melo coming again. We said that Melo had no place in the NBA again. Yet the NBA found Melo again, and he found a position important that seems to be home. And that's a good thing. But I guess everybody can't have that same fairy tale ending. The way Russell Westbrook plays, Tristan, we would think that the system in Houston would work for him. Now we're stuck in a system where he may not be able to find a system that works for him. And the league maybe is leaving him. Or maybe the league is not leaving him. There's no one to play for him to play with. And how much is this Houston Rockets issue not about not about Russell Westbrook? We still aren't talking about James Harden. In 8 years, still not talking about James Harden. Tristan, the Rockets, all that make of it. Let's finish the show, baby.
I feel bad for Silas, the new head coach for the Rockets, because he's in a situation where that team is going to look completely different, and he's going to have to figure out how to right the ship with his first shot at being a head coach after almost 2 decades of waiting for an opportunity. I feel bad for him. We don't talk about Harden enough as far as his leadership for a team, his leadership for a franchise. He is an excellent player. He is an excellent scorer. He is a terrible teammate and a terrible leader. We have seen that time and time again with everybody that they've tried to bring. If you try to form this team completely different and always running into the same issue, what's the one constant? It's James Harden. You've tried every which way to put this thing together, and the one constant is James Harden. Is the one domino that has remained and has caused this issue. I keep saying this ball dominant play does not work in today's NBA. You cannot do it. So it's either He's going to have to come down a little bit to play with another all-star and for them to coexist, or he's going to have to step up, as in step up in playoff time and stop choking if he wants to be the main guy. That's the only way that's going to work. Now that's my whole thing with James Harden. We can go into a whole other thing with him. Now with Russell Westbrook, the problem with Russell Westbrook is that he can't shoot. That's really his issue. That's really his issue. The reason why he couldn't play off the ball is because he cannot shoot the ball. That's it.
Yeah.
There's really no.
Or he's running up and down the court with no direction. And some days, some nights it works. That run and gun. And some nights it doesn't work.
And but that's really his problem. He doesn't know what to do off the ball because he can't shoot. He's a great defender. He's excellent energy. One of the best penetrators of the basket we've seen, especially at his size. He can facilitate the ball. I mean, the man was a walking triple-double for like 2-3 years. So clearly he can facilitate the ball. He cannot shoot the basketball, and that will be his flaw. And that's going to be the thing that a lot of teams that would want that kind of energy, that kind of ability on their team would have to think about. This guy can't shoot. So wherever he goes, he's got to be surrounded with shooters. It's almost like he's like a undersized Giannis, basically. That's really what he is, because he cannot shoot the basketball well. So you have to put shooters around him for him to flourish. And then you got to he needs shooters, and then he needs a big. So out of all those teams that you just listed out, for him to possibly go, as strange
I didn't like none of them.
As strange as it may sound, his best option might be the Hornets. Because one, they'll have the room, they'll have the cap room for him for that contract, and to still be able to put a couple shooters around him. You put him to the Clippers don't have enough shooters for you to put Russell Westbrook.
They don't even like each other.
You're just gonna clog the space. You're gonna clog the space for that. For Detroit don't got enough shooters for you to put him over there. That doesn't really make sense to me at all. What was the other team that you mentioned? The Knicks. Need I say more?
They're trying to find a counterpart to this whole Nets thing.
Yeah, need I say more to that? So that's all the issues I'm looking at. Like, I mean, the Hornets might be the best bet. He's part of the Jordan brand. That's Jordan's team. It just might hurt. It just might work. It just might happen. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting because you really got to invest in what he does and build the team around him for what he does. But are people going to want to build a team for somebody that is now 32? I mean, it's a lot of questions for Russell, man. It's a lot of questions.
And it sucks because we all love his tenacity. We all love Russ. And Russ we trust. And he can do you may say that there's sometimes that he makes a decision that's just, why did you do that? But in his head, he did it for the betterment of wanting to do what was best, because he wants to be a winner, and he plays with every extremity on his body. Absolutely. The excellence of heart. But it's paralleled that, I do know a lot of people have an issue with where Kevin Durant went, and we get that. But at the same time, if Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook stayed together, the issue was going to be Russ, because we were going to try to figure out how they could still stay together, and who was going to concede to who.
Right.
And you can't have Kevin Durant, as much as Kevin Durant is, conceding to Russell Westbrook, who great talent, but no identity really with the talent that he had.
Absolutely.
And now we're seeing that it sucks for him to go into veteranship eventually, being tossed around how he's being tossed around, know where he's going to go, what he's going to do.
Right.
It's uncanny to see us having to have a conversation about who's going to trust Russ and where is Russ going. But here we are.
Right.
And that is episode 101, America. Help us help you. No, you help us. Excuse me. Find something to name these shows.
Right.
Top prize every week.
Right.
Tristan, you're on location. Thank you for being on location. Thanks for staying with us. I know you want to get in the house. I need a drink of water. And I'm saying it like I say it every week, and I don't care if it does not rhyme. It is still mine. Ad McKell and Kevin McKell. 102, baby. We'll see you.
Yeah, we will.
We on the road to 200.
Woo.
Okay, 150.
150.
Sescentennial.
150.
150. We will see you next week. Tristan. Oh.
All right, peace.